It has been a rough stretch for the Mets, who have lost 8 of their last 9 games, and they were nearly no hit yesterday. It's hard to believe this is the same team who played so well earlier this season. Let's break all this down with Tyler Ward, who's joining me in studio. Tyler, let's start with Juan Soto. Soto has not been having the season Mets fans expected when he signed that massive deal this offseason, and he was booed at Citi Field yesterday. So was that justified?
I mean, I'm never one of those people that heavily advocates for booing the fans. Usually I'm going to bat for the players, especially be like, don't go ahead and do that because that's only going to put them in a negative mindset. But at the same time, when you look at those Citi Field prices, I mean, it's $40 for parking alone. And then you mean to tell me you go out your way to attend a game and they get one hit where they don't get their first hit until the 9th inning? I can understand the frustration, because at the end of the day, the fans make the team. So you have to view it in that aspect. And while I am not, again, a heavy proponent of booing against a guy like Juan Soto in his first year on the club, let him get acclimated regardless of the dollars. I do understand that rightful counter, though. If you're spending your hard-earned money to attend games, then you should be able to at least voice your displeasure when the team isn't performing well.
Sure. But I do think with Soto, I feel like the expectations are so high immediately, and you're going to have to kind of ride this out a little bit because he's going to be here for a while, and I think he'll have those ups and downs, and hopefully at some point we'll see that superstar that we've seen in the past from him.
Oh yeah, again, it's year one with Soto. We've seen a lot of good out of him. We talk about him right now as if he doesn't have the most home runs on the team with 26 or so. The biggest difference that we've seen though when it comes to Juan Soto now with the Mets is how is he properly finding himself entering the fold in unison with everyone. It feels like a lot of the times when he's performed well this year, it's been in him more kind of those individual performances, those solo home runs, or, just being able to drive in a run or so. Like, there's a lot of aspects to his game that I think we can all agree we want to see more of, and that's hopefully what we're going to get here for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I mean, speaking of struggles, the Mets rotation has been a sore spot as of late. David Peterson is the only starting pitcher to go 6 or more innings over the last 50 games. How can these pitchers get back on track? Is it time to call up a guy like Brandon Sproat or Nolan McLean?
Yeah, I think it is time. This is something that I've been beating that drum for at least the past month and a half now. I know I'm not the only one that feels this way. When I have great conversations with other Mets fans and writers in the community, they've all been in unison by saying, why haven't they done it sooner? And this is going back to 2.5 weeks ago. So yeah, Brandon Sproat's been dominating that we've seen in AAA, especially over the past month. He has a right around a .67 ERA. Nolan McLean has been Mr. Consistent, as I like to call him, because all year long there's been no starter in the minor leagues that's really been as consistent as him there at the AAA level specifically. So I think when you look at McLean, his consistency, and now with Sproat's finally showing more of what fans got excited about with him being a high-rising prospect last year, at minimum one of those guys needs to be considered when you look at the lack of length with this rotation right now. Because as you said, David Pearson's the only one providing length. Everyone else is only averaging 4.2 innings. Like, that is not going to get the job done. The Mets need to consider some type of reinforcement now.
Yeah, just something to spark them a little bit. They've also been struggling at the plate. Do you think they might consider a switch up on the coaching staff or just something like that, just to spark something?
Yeah, I mean, the fans want to switch up when it comes to the coaching staff, no doubt. And usually they want that after, you lose your first 5 games of the year, so you don't want to take it to heart every single time. But in the case of right now, there are some reasons to justify maybe why the Mets should make that move. And David Stearns is not a president that usually acts in short-term reaction, especially with the fans. So the last thing that we should expect is the Mets to inevitably part ways with, say, one of their hitting coaches, which have been in a lot of those hot-button topics like Eric Chavez or Jeremy Barnes. But I think the criticism is not only noted, but something needs to be held accountable when it comes to this team, and for a couple reasons. We know that they've had their struggles, but offensively specifically, that has been a glaring hole for them all year long with runners in scoring position. And I can't think of a single team in baseball that's ever gone as far as what the Mets did last year, a couple games shy of the World Series, while having a bottom 3 statistic in the game when it comes to hitting with runners in scoring position. So that's just one of multiple things that's plagued this offense, and that becomes more of a philosophy issue than it is just an individual player issue, and they collectively are having these problems.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there ever was a time when the Mets really needed to turn around, it's now, which might be a struggle because they're heading to Milwaukee for a 3-game set with the Brewers, who currently own the best record in baseball. Carlos Mendoza said this team needs to find a way to turn the switch. So Tyler, how do they do that, and what do you need to see from the Mets this weekend?
They need to get some type of moxie going. You know, when we think of last year, they were a team that went well below expectations, 11 games below 500, right? And then they said, okay, everyone's doubting us, so let's go out and prove them wrong. And they took advantage of that, the lack of pressure, and utilized it for good. They were the best team in all of the regular season throughout summer of last year. And to get as far as they did, just 2 games shy of the World Series, you look at that in comparison to this season, there's a complete lack of identity. There is not that same leadership aspect that you're hoping. Not to say that Lindor isn't doing what he typically does, because I'm sure he's doing a great job in the clubhouse as well as on the field. But the results just aren't there right now. And then you look at guys like Carlos Mendoza, Mets manager. What about his voice is maybe not getting through enough to the club? Is there maybe something that he himself needs to do more on a vocal front to get everyone and their ducks in a row? Or is this more of one of those things that the players just have to come together, maybe rally around something silly? They just have to get a spark. You know, they don't have the OMG, they don't have the grimace, they don't have the rally, you know what, all these different things that they could utilize. So I think that they just need to find something to stick with, but to actually use it for good the way that they did so last year.
Yeah, and they know they've done it before. They've kind of gotten out of these slumps, and we'll have to see how it goes. Milwaukee's going to be a tough place this weekend, but all eyes are on the Mets as they, you know, try to find that spark and flip that switch. Tyler, thanks for coming in studio today.
Thank
really
you so much,
appreciate
Emma Kate. I appreciate it as well. Thank you.